Welcome to Ancient Geeks, a podcast where two geeks of a certain age return to our younger selves and we explore science fiction, fantasy, you name it, comic books that we fell in love with when we were young and how we look at them now in comparison. All of these were the foundations of modern geek culture, but we were geeks before that was chic. I'm your co-host, Tom.
I I was trying to get to the end of the sequence there. Hi, I'm your co-host, Steven Taylor, and my space tuba is ready to rock.
Okay.
We were both thinking musically, at least.
We were
Yes,
both thinking musically. Okay, so we're doing Close Encounters this episode, hence the introduction here. In case you're wondering, I don't normally sing my opener. All right, so before we get into our discussion of Close Encounters, what geeky things have you been doing lately, Stephen?
So the only geeky things that I've been doing lately are trying to get prepared for future episodes of this podcast. In fact, we were supposed to talk about Blake 7 this week, and we haven't gotten there yet. So I'm still
And
mainlining that among
that
other
is
things.
all my fault. I wear the hair shirt for that. Uh, anyway,
Oh yeah,
we have some long
minor
poll
delays.
things that we're doing, that require
Yes. Oh
a little
yes.
extra time to prepare for, like watching an entire season of Blake 7. Of how
That's
many
right.
episodes is it again?
13.
13, yeah.
13. I've also been doing some thinking about my own movie biography, which I may write something on Substack about. Just thinking
Okay.
about why I saw certain things when I saw them and why I didn't see certain things. And
Oh,
also
that's an
the,
interesting
the,
question.
the general rhythm of one's life and how that, like, affects when you see things. Like, there's a massive gap somewhere around the year 1997 because we had just had a baby,
Hmm.
and so forth and so on. Anyway,
Right,
so that's the podcast continues to make me think about the past as it's supposed to do.
right. Well, speaking of that, so the geeky thing I did lately was I went back to try to reread some Jonah Hex comics because I had kind of fallen off on comic books for a long time.
Right.
And I was hoping to go back to like the early Jonah Hex content, but that was not available on the DC
Mm,
Universe app, which, okay, rant mode on. I hate this app. It's just so clunky and hard to find things and hard to go from. It finds a particular issue like Jonah Hex in the New 52, number 13.
right.
And
It
like,
does
I
weird
just want
things.
just show me the series. Please don't waste my time with this collage of random Jonah Hex issues.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. The app is not great. Neither
Yeah.
nor the Marvel app are ideal.
Yeah. Anyway, so I've always liked Jonah Hex. I'm doing this class on westerns. I thought it'd be fun to look at some western comics, vintage western comics, particularly Jonah Hex. Uh, we talked a little bit about maybe doing an episode about non-superhero comics sometime in the future, and there wasn't a lot there to read. Anyway, so I was unsuccessful and a little underwhelmed by the Jonah Hex issues that were
You were
on the
vexed.
app. I was vexed. I was vexed for Hex.
Exactly.
Okay, well, the other thing we always do before we get into the topic du jour is we talk about if we had a vast budget for our media empire that could afford to pay the royalties for a particular soundtrack for each episode, what would you pick for this episode?
So I had several thoughts, including "Eye in the Sky" by Alan Parsons Project, because not only is it a favorite band, that just I kept thinking about it during some of the scenes. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna really just say John Williams' score in this movie is magisterial, and
Phenomenal.
especially the suite toward the end that incorporates the tones that you were imitating at the beginning of the episode.
Hmm.
I just, in fact, in some ways, I think I may have really fallen in love with the music of this movie before I even saw it, to be honest. So anyway, it's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, I picked the Miko version of the Close Encounters theme. So as you might remember from way back to our Star Wars episode, listeners, there was a disco version of the Star Wars theme that came out soon after the movie became a blockbuster hit in theaters. And there was also, apparently, I didn't know this, a Close Encounters riff that the same disco band, I don't know what to call them exactly, that Miko did. It's hard to get through completely.
Conglomeration rather than a band,
Yeah,
maybe.
I can't say that I listened to the whole thing because I didn't. But anyway, it's out there. It's out there. It's preserved for all eternity for anybody who wants to listen to it.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into
Let's get into it.
1977's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. One of the real pillars of the golden age of science fiction movies. That, as we talked about, I think I sort of arbitrarily in a blog post started it in 1977 with this movie and Star Wars, and ended it in 1987 because round numbers, a whole decade seemed like a good thing, but it also seemed to encompass this really great period of science fiction films. What was your first encounter with Close Encounters?
So, like several of the movies we've talked about lately, I did not see this movie at the theater at the time. I don't entirely know why. I mean, I was 9 at the time. I think it seemed kind of
Hmm.
serious to me in some ways that I wasn't,
Hmm.
didn't capture my imagination at the time. I was also obsessed with Star Wars. Everything was Star Wars. Lots of going to see Star Wars more than over and over again. So I just didn't see it. I remember it being out. I remember two things. I remember the musical tones being a thing,
Right.
and then the aliens being kind of a thing. But beyond that, I don't know when I first saw it. I saw it on VHS. I know I saw it on VHS, and I may have seen it more than once. The last time I remember seeing it in its entirety was at least 10 years ago, doing something I never do anymore. I was channel surfing and just found it and started watching a movie.
Hmm.
I still, it was, it was the first time I'd seen it in HD. It was on a larger screen TV, and I remember enjoying it. I think it was the same version we watched, but I'm not positive. I've been aware that there have been several versions of the film. We'll talk about that more in a minute, I suppose. It's kind of
Hmm.
like Blade Runner and even T2, where like these slightly different variations exist. But how about yourself?
Well, let me before I talk about me, which I love doing. Was your decision to not see Close Encounters at all influenced by the fact that you were deeply into Star Wars action figures and there were no action figures for Close Encounters?
It's a good question. I was deeply into Star Wars action figures. I don't know if there'd been action figures, it would have mattered that much. I mean, it was Star Wars first, action figure second, not the other way around
Hmm.
in terms of the causality of it all. I really don't remember. I don't remember anything other than I do have this vague memory of it seeming like a more serious movie that I wasn't that interested in for whatever reason.
Hmm.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
And, again, there's that weird space when you're 9. I don't know about how you look at the world. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, did your parents go see it?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, I definitely saw it in the theaters when it came out, and it was prompted for two things. There were two compulsions to see it. One was I was a weird kid in the weird 70s who
Right.
followed things like UFOs and Bigfoot and ghosts
Yeah.
and the Loch Ness Monster. And it's like, oh, well, there's this big budget Hollywood movie coming out
Hmm.
about UFOs. It, the other reason really was the poster.
Yeah.
Uh,
Poster's cool.
the poster is fantastic. And I hadn't seen the poster in years. And when I was doing the research for this, like, oh yeah, that
Yeah. Yeah.
poster was really a gripping, like, what is going on in that?
So,
Very simple movie poster.
yeah. So, I mean, again, as we think back to those days of yesteryear,
Hmm.
I was never super into any of that stuff, right? UFOs, the weird, it just wasn't on my mind. I liked, like, again, my big connection to Bigfoot was the $6 Million Man.
Hmm.
Not really. I remember again a little bit about the Boggy
Right.
Creek Monster being something that one of my friends was into.
Not
I was
not
just
that
like,
you would have in real life been inspired to rip the arm off Bigfoot and hit him
well,
with it.
if I could have. Um, but I was just like I was Star Trek, Star Wars, and the lesser degree things like Space 1999, Lost in Space.
Hmm.
That was my jam. So I don't know the UFO thing appealed to me as just it did not appeal to me as much at that point in my life, I guess.
Right. Well, it was a more contained movie, right? There
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
tons and tons of things to buy as merchandise.
Right. That's true. Oh no, that's very
It
true.
wasn't a TV series.
Right.
It was you went to the theater, you watched it, and you went home, and maybe you'd go back to see it again. But that was pretty much your engagement with Close Encounters.
I think part of really, because again, I've been thinking about
Hmm.
my own sort of biography, not to get too deep down this well, looking at when the dam broke on going to the movies. And it really was a couple years later for me,
Yeah,
right? Um, and I think we'll talk about more about some of the Spielberg stuff because that's part of the story, I think.
definitely.
But it was just not quite at the right part of my life to be at the movies all the time.
Right. And I and just to go back to movie posters for a moment, at the time, you often did first get grabbed by a movie because of the
Hmm.
poster. You were in the theater, you saw a poster for an upcoming film, and you said, "Huh, I would definitely be interested in seeing that." As kids or teenagers, we certainly like had the Star Wars posters up on
Oh
our
yeah.
walls, including all the different variants of them that were available. Uh, I don't know of any movies today that I've even seen a movie poster for sale anywhere because they don't really. It's not like you go into like,
Well,
well, here's the thing: a record store
or
or a
the mall.
bookstore or a mall and see a display of movie posters, or
Oh
even like
no,
on Amazon, they're not pushing them, even if you're a fan of a particular movie.
I remember again, again, this having flashbacks of going to the mall
Mm-hmm.
and you go to the back of Spencer's Gifts,
Yep.
and there are all of those posters that are in that thing you could flap through and look at the posters because they're all in these
Yeah.
like frames. Yeah, no, that doesn't exist anymore.
I
I don't.
really love doing that, by the way, because you'd
Oh yeah,
flip,
that was
because you'd be
always.
waiting, like, I wonder what's going to be next.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And of course, there was this combination of the Farrah Fawcett swimsuit posters
Yeah.
and the movie things and I don't know. It's I just thought posters. I don't know if they're really much of a thing anymore. I mean, I guess my
Yeah.
kids had some posters, but they were mostly sports posters.
Yeah. And then later, when I, for example, got very heavily into uh, Alfred Hitchcock movies, there were these great posters, especially the
Hmm.
ones that were done by the artist Sam Bass.
Hmm.
The designs of them were really terrific, but it's just not a thing anymore.
It's just nature of marketing, right? All these things are the way that they evolve.
Yeah.
Because the only really, well, I guess there were three ways to know about a movie back in the day, more or less,
Hmm.
especially as a kid, right? It was to saw a poster at the theater when you were seeing something else,
Right.
and or the trailer, I suppose. But um, TV commercials,
Right.
and then maybe it was something in the newspaper, unless you happened to read things like Starlog or something. But I mean, that was the way you found out, right? And now it's a different experience into the marketing. I barely watch anything with commercials, right?
Hmm.
The only movie commercial that I can think of that I've seen lately is the Mandalorian Grogu commercial that was on the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl was live and
All right.
commercial was on.
Hmm.
But it's just a different experience all the way around.
Yeah. They really, they being the posters, really did bookend one's experience of a film. They would attract your attention to it early on, and then later you had the option, if you really loved the movie, of having the poster on your wall. You'd see it every day.
That's true. And I was not prepared for this, and I'm not going to suggest we try, but it'd be fun to think about posters we saw that we thought the movie was going to be great and the movie sucked.
Oh, that'd be a great episode. Definitely should do that. There are definitely a lot of movies like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you one
Anyway.
reason I didn't see this movie was at the time I didn't really know Steven Spielberg. I mean,
Right.
I knew Jaws, right? Because that was a smash hit,
Hmm.
but he wasn't really a name in Hollywood yet, which we'll
Right.
talk about. But so that wasn't the reason that we went to see this movie.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right. So, I'll also say, since you weren't interested in UFOs, but I was at that tender age, I was also watching other UFO movies.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there were science fiction movies that about UFO encounters, and also, of course, episodes of $6 Million Man and
Hmm. Hmm.
other
Hmm.
TV shows in the weird '70s. And I watched those weird documentaries, the weird documentaries we talked
Right.
about with Blake and Karen back in our
Right.
weird '70s episode. So I got that book, and I was flipping through it, these lists of documentaries about Atlantis and UFOs and Bigfoot. It's like, yep, seen that one, seen that one, seen that one. So like doing one of those sorts of movies, not documentary, but doing a good job of something about UFOs was an attractive notion for me because of all the other UFO movies. Did you ever rewatch it after the first time you saw this movie?
Close Encounters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it. I've watched it at least, I would say, I know twice for sure, probably three times at least. Like I said, rewatched it about 10 years ago. That's really the freshest viewing that I had in my mind before
Okay.
today.
Yeah. Do you remember kind of at the time what you thought about the movie? Because we'll talk about our current
So, like I
reactions.
said, I knew it existed. I remember again, the tones were a big deal. I didn't quite
Hmm.
understand what it was, but I knew that was a deal and that there were aliens at the end. That's kind of what I knew.
Hmm.
And that's
Spoilers.
really as far as yeah, well, yeah.
That's
When the
right.
movie turns 50 next year, I think. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't going to be a movie where like they did this big setup about aliens, and at the end, well,
No.
I guess it
No,
was a fake.
I think that
Sorry, kids.
I was kind of intrigued to know the aliens did show up at the end because I think I was in some ways conditioned that you weren't going to see the aliens in these movies or
Right.
they were going to be like too mysterious.
Right.
But again, and of course I was intrigued by, well, so Close Encounters of the third kind, or what are the first two kinds?
Right. Well, that was
Stuff
again
like
one of the
that.
draws. So since I was
Yeah.
reading kind
Yeah.
of ufology paperbacks and and magazines and things, I knew about the classification system, that
Hmm.
J. Allen Hynek came up with, the first kind, second kind, so forth. So it was in the title there were going to be aliens. I mean, there's
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because
no
the
worries. Yeah.
first kind is seeing a spaceship. Is that what it is?
Yeah. The second is there's physical evidence.
Physical, that's right. Yeah.
And
The
then the
third is
third is you're
actually
actually meeting the aliens. Yeah.
contact, right? Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
So I just looked up before we got started that both Roger Ebert and Pauline Kael liked this movie.
Okay.
And that's a kind of an interesting barometer of a movie, since if you don't know who Pauline Kael is, most people know who Roger Ebert is, but Pauline Kael was
Yes.
a big name film reviewer at the time. And anyway, they often had very different opinions about movies. So like Dances with Wolves, Ebert loved it, Kael hated it.
Mm.
Anyway, so it's interesting that they both liked it. So as I
I was
said,
just
this
thinking it was
yeah.
like a Rock'em Sock. You see, brought up last episode a Rock'em Sock'em Robot
Oh,
between
there we
Kale and
go.
Ebert for movies. Anyway,
That's
sorry.
right. They should have done that with Siskel and Ebert, but another lost
No,
opportunity.
that would be a thumb war.
Raj.
1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war. There
Yeah.
you go. Okay, enough of
All
that.
right. So the hypothesis I wanted to talk about was I think this is the movie that really made Steven Spielberg.
I agree
So
with that actually.
yeah, and so he did TV shows and a TV movie that was very memorable, Duel. As I said, he did Jaws, and that was a smash hit. But he wasn't a household name. I think this is the movie that really cemented him in the public mind, as well as kind of gave him the continued momentum as a player in Hollywood, somebody able to pick his own movies and
Yeah.
direct them the way he wanted and so forth, that he wouldn't have had if it were just resting on the laurels of Jaws.
Well, I think that sort of it probably is a combination. I think this is the Jaws starts it, right? Isn't Jaws like one of the first big summer blockbusters?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that, and that I think and clearly, I didn't look up the the budget for this movie, but he clearly was given a good deal of money for this movie.
Right.
If anything, there are so many extras in this movie. It's amazing, actually. And they
Hmm.
film on different locations and the SFX and all this stuff. But so I think that Jaws leads into this, but also I think the fact that he's the director and the writer of the movie
Yeah.
creates a whole nother aura around the man at
Hmm.
this point. And then it does fit into, and maybe I'm getting ahead of where you want to go, but I was just thinking about like it's Jaws in 75, it's Close Encounters in 77. And then you get Raiders of the Lost Ark in 81 and E.T. in 82.
Hmm.
And that's like a pretty substantial splash, right? A lot of money being made. And in the middle of all of it is 1979's 1941, which I realize is the first Spielberg movie I saw in the theater.
I'm so sorry.
I had no idea it was, I don't think at the time, but that's the first one I know that I saw in the theater. Um, so,
I've always been intrigued by seeing that movie again, or maybe just watching part of it,
right,
just to see if there were flashes of Spielberg there that would be
right.
interesting, or maybe this is a better movie than I remember. But I just remember really hating it when I saw it.
I was 11, so I was probably pretty hilarious to me at the time.
Hmm.
Really probably the first thing I saw John Belushi in, to be honest, because I was too young to
Yeah,
have seen him on SML. And then I just remember the Ferris wheel going down the
right.
pier. It's like the only thing I remember from the movie, to be totally honest.
I
Anyway,
don't remember a lot. I remember the Japanese submarine.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah,
because
it's just a strange introduction. But I mean, really, if you take that one out, it's one of these things is not like the other, right? Jaws,
yeah,
Close Encounters, 1941, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and E.T. Plus, right, you get Poltergeist, which he wrote and allegedly was kind of a ghost director of,
yes.
which I also saw in the
Ha ha
theater.
ha.
No, yeah, there was actually no pun intended there, but correct, yeah.
I think it's pretty
And
cool. I think it's pretty clear watching that movie. He was a ghost
yeah,
director.
I think you're right. I mean, I've only watched it once,
Hmm.
but even some of the imagery from that movie actually might have been Close Encounters. Anyway,
Yes.
and then the Goonies, which he wrote the story of, which also had the very Spielbergian feel to it,
Hmm.
which I also saw
Right.
in the theater. So that's a pretty intense sort of stamp of Spielberg in this period, right?
Yes.
And a
I
very
think
kind of flavor of
yeah,
movie.
I think that you could really see here both the Spielberg themes and
Yes,
the Spielberg style.
yes,
So Spielberg themes I wrote down were ordinary people thrust into extraordinary situations, uh, kids and family,
hmm
a lot of kid-centric movies in the Spielberg catalog, but also, like suburban families, in E.T. and this movie and so forth, the
with
Goonies.
cluttered houses.
Realistically, if you have kids,
That's
there's
right.
going to be clutter.
That is true. That is
Yeah, the
true.
the Neary family household, it's like
Yeah.
that is definitely a family with kids. Multiple
Well,
kids.
with a
Yeah.
grown-up kid as in charge of the family too.
Exactly. Yeah, with the TV playing in the background that nobody in particular is watching.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think another theme is that the world is a bigger place than we think it is
hmm
dated in our normal day-to-day lives. And sense of wonder appears a lot in Spielberg movies.
Yeah, that's right.
And then his directorial style, I'm sure there are film scholars who have more precise definitions of this, but I would say he makes really watchable movies.
He does.
Kind of what you see on the screen, the way that the story is told through the images and so forth, without necessarily having a lot of exposition to tell you what somebody's feeling or what's happening in the scene and so forth. I think he's really great at that. He has all kinds of ways to keep you engaged in the movie. The collaboration with John Williams, for example,
Sure.
the music, always kind of keeping you riveted to what's happening in front of you. I think that there's a particular look that he has to a lot
Right.
of his compositions in the collaborations with his cinematographers. Very fluid movement of the camera
Yes.
when it does move, and he's also not somebody who's addicted to camera movement for its own sake, just to keep things interesting. And that's something that is a pet peeve of mine when people do that. I mean, he'll hold a shot when it needs to be held without cutting back and forth or the camera gratuitously moving around. So there's definitely like a visual style to Steven Spielberg that you see here in spades in one of his
Yes. I mean,
earliest
and
movies.
I really wish I could identify better what it is, but there is definitely a feel. There's something about yeah, the camera movement's part of it. I think the use of crowd sometimes is part of it. I think
Hmm.
the way he uses light. I was also
Yes.
just struck. We may come back to this, but I was just struck by the framing. The framing of a lot of the shots is pretty amazing. I thought that the
Yeah.
use of focus, like there's a great scene at the beginning where the air traffic controller is at his console and he's surrounded by people, and often and he's centered in around these people in the middle.
Right.
But also at times the way the focus is done, it's not the flat focus of TV
Hmm.
at the time, or just sort of, we have a pretty uh, substantial depth of field. It's a narrow depth of field. Some of the characters are not fully in focus because they're not the key characters. And
Right.
there's some movement with the focus. And I thought that it just struck me as watching it. It was pretty impressive. But there's a lot of great use of light in this movie.
Right.
Not just in the dramatic scenes, but in things like press conference scenes and other things of that nature. I was impressed by all that.
Yeah.
And speaking though of I'm going to digress for a split second because it's really important to your point about John Williams. John Williams did the soundtrack for 1941. I just thought you should know that.
All is
That's
forgiven for
that's
his
incredible.
how
That's
90
totally.
some movies that he's
It's
done
just
better
absolutely
scores for.
amazing.
Yeah.
That movie has John Williams as the composer and Steven Spielberg as the director. That's just blows my mind. Anyway, sorry. Back to reality.
That's right. Yeah. Not everybody hits a home run every time at
No.
bat. No. Well, I'm glad you brought up the air traffic controller scene because
Mhm.
that really stuck out to me too on the rewatch. Like
Mhm.
it's all very close.
Yes.
So it's a tense scene where people don't know what's really happening and they're making a decision. Do you want to report this or not?
Right.
Anyway, so that particular way of framing the actors close
Yes.
to the screen, the CRT
Yes.
screens. Anyway, that was really
Well,
well done.
even better, I would even go
Mm.
a step further or a step back and point out that at the beginning of the scene, and this is something that struck me in this movie throughout the movie,
Mhm.
is that there is a wide shot toward the before we kind of zoom in on the ATC guy and have this conversation. These people all getting interested in what's going on the screens. There's a lot of activity going on. It's like
Right,
it feels like a real place, a real workplace where people are doing stuff, and
right,
they're not just all. It doesn't feel staged. There's a lot of motion, and it really, and again, I said it before, but it's worth stressing. As we go through the film, there are just a lot of people in this movie.
yes,
If there's a lot of people at air traffic control. It looks like a crowded workplace. There's when they have the meeting with officials about the whole thing. They're in that conference room. The conference room is full of
hmm,
people. When they're outside, it just feels. I mean, often, well, of course, there's the evacuation scene around Devil's Mountain, but there's the scene in India, or whether it's just there's always a lot of, or the scene with the UFO at the end. There's a lot of people, a lot of
right,
extras in this movie that got paid. It's
hmm,
actually quite extraordinary. I thought it
yeah.
felt full.
I'm glad you said that about the everything feeling real.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the same again for the Neary family household.
Right.
Yeah, you think about a lot of movies or TV shows from the time where it seemed a lot cleaner and neater than you'd
Sure.
expect a family house to be, where people are stepping on toys and
Right.
tripping over somebody's tricycle that is
Hmm.
left in the kitchen for some weird reason. Anyway, it's just
Running over the big wheel when you're trying to leave the house.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We should say something about what edition we watched. So we both bought the same DVD,
Hmm.
and we could have watched the theatrical version or the special edition, but we watched the director's cut,
Correct.
which includes some things that were not in the theatrical version, doesn't include everything that was in the
Hmm.
special edition
And doesn't include
version.
everything that was in the theatrical release either.
Yes. So it's a very interesting version of the film from that perspective because there's so much like about director's cuts that's usually just like adding in more that
Hmm.
hit the cutting room floor for the theatrical version. But here, apparently, Spielberg wasn't involved in the special edition, but he was involved in the director's cut, I think. And
No, I thought he was involved. Didn't he supervise the reshoots for the inside of the ship? Or maybe I'm wrong about that.
I don't know.
That was my impression that he was involved in both, but I could be
Okay.
wrong.
Okay. Well, shut my mouth if I was
No,
wrong
I
about
mean
the.
one of it's right, one of it's wrong, and the audience may or may not know since the internet's
Yeah.
available. But um,
We are certainly happy to be wrong.
sure. Well, happy. I don't. I'm happy to be wrong, but I'll accept. I can accept that I'm wrong
Yeah.
with
But,
grace.
since it was labeled the director's cut, and a lot of people consider this apparently to be the best
Yeah.
version,
Yes, I think it is.
that's the one that we watched. Uh, as we kind of go through the movie, I just want to make sure that if there was a particular wow moment in the film when we were watching it, when you just said, "Ooh, that's really something," or WTF moments, let's make sure to highlight those. So the movie, I kind of cut it into four segments. There's the build up that people are realizing something's going on, but you don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? Uh, there's there are things happening around the globe. There are things happening to uh, both Melinda Dillon's character, as well as Roy, uh, the kind of the lead character in the movie. There's Roy's breakdown, as kind of whatever the influence on him is happening, that he is spiraling somehow. He's feeling these compulsions to do things that he can't explain. And finally, there's the trek to Devil's Tower and the extended first contact scene. That sound fair?
That's fair. Totally fair.
Okay.
And by the way, so Google does tell me that Spielberg was fully involved in the special release
Well,
of
thank
Clerks.
you. Wrong
That's very,
again, Tom. Wrong again, as I often am.
we'll add it to the tally board.
Yes. I'm to blame for so much and I'm wrong about so much. Okay.
We'll just call you Eeyore.
Eeyore. I don't enjoy this latest Star Trek. uh, that's it all. That's how I'll handle future reviews of
There
it.
you go. There you
With the
go.
voice of Eeyore. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did not. Um, all right. So the build up. So we have
Yeah.
the movie open with the first scene in the desert.
Yes.
This sand is blowing around, things are obscure. You see
Yes.
the headlights of cars coming in and so forth. How did you like that as an opening?
So that was a fantastic opening. I thought it
Yeah.
was, I love the visuals. Another thing that I noticed in those visuals, again, and part of it is the light because of the sandstorm and trying to film through the sandstorm, and the car comes up and you see the headlights first, and it's sort
Hmm.
of all that's going on. I also noticed in that part of the movie too, and throughout the film, Spielberg often does not center the action in the middle of the screen. It's
Yes.
often off to the left or off to the
Great
right,
point.
the
Great
different
point.
thirds.
Hmm.
He plays with that rule of thirds things in a particularly cool kind of way, and I notice it quite a lot in that scene and then throughout the film. So that was a
Hmm.
great scene. How about yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it was a WTF moment, right? Like, what the heck is going on here? Who's this French guy? Why does he have an
Right.
interpreter? The older Mexican gentleman sitting there,
Yes.
saying, "I saw it," and then like, of course, you're wondering, like, what did he see? What did he
What did
see?
he see?
Yeah.
That's right. I actually, I also love the part where like, why are they fooling with these planes? Why if they're in a sandstorm? Why are they trying to start these? And then it becomes clear that these are planes that
Yes.
disappeared, and the whole Bermuda Triangle thing, which again was a very 70s thing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
and I got the reference then to that particular flight, being a UFO kid. Uh, then we get the radar scene that we were just talking
hmm
about. Do you want to report a UFO?
right.
No, that's okay.
I'm not crazy. You're crazy.
And then we get the Geilers, the Geiler family.
Yes.
So Jillian and Barry,
Yes.
and their first encounter with the craziness to come.
Yes.
Um, this inspired a question I wanted to ask, and this kind of goes throughout the movie. How well do you think the movie did at making the aliens seem really alien? because it's all very suggestive through most of
Hmm.
the film.
I mean, I thought they did a pretty good job of it, right? Because they're
Hmm.
so mysterious. Their behavior doesn't make total sense. Um, and we really never fully understand what's going on.
Right.
Um, and why would they be interested in the kid? How do they send these compulsions to the ones that were compelled to go to Devil's Tower, and so forth and so on. I thought it was pretty alien, and I thought it was also, kind of, it was also scary, right? The way in which they, especially the scene
Hmm.
later where they abduct the kid.
Right.
This scene is more just sort of creepy than scary. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you get gradually introduced to the aliens. So there's of course, the big reveal at the end when we
Hmm.
actually do see them. But really, you're asking questions, as you said, throughout. Like, what are they actually after here? Yeah, how are they accomplishing these things? Which you'd imagine, like, beating a more technologically advanced civilization than ours, who is, comprised of people who aren't just people with little prosthetics on
Right.
their faces, but genuine aliens. You
Hmm.
expect it to kind of be like that,
Yeah, because
or like the UFO encounters that like where people would say, "Oh, well, there was this really tall white dude,
right, right.
and he told me that
It
the
was Larry
people from
Bird.
the yeah, it's Larry Bird wants you to be kinder to each other and get rid of all those nasty nuclear weapons." Uh,
Yeah, it was. I felt their behavior was in some ways inscrutable because it doesn't.
yeah,
It's not a particularly logical process by which to make contact if you have advanced technology,
right.
really.
Hmm.
So it suggests that they really are quite different. So I
Yeah,
think that makes the case.
yeah, and the mystery keeps you engaged
Sure.
throughout the movie. I think. Yeah, I can imagine someone else trying to make a story like this and at the end possibly trying to come up with some sort of explanation about everything. And
Right.
this movie doesn't do that. They remain,
No,
as you said, inscrutable in a lot of
yeah.
ways all the way through the end. And also something too, which has always struck me when watching this movie, they seem indifferent to the fear and suffering that they're causing.
I don't think they get it. That's
Yeah,
sort
they don't understand, or maybe there's a cost benefit analysis they're doing because of whatever the protocol is for
hmm.
contacting humans. I don't know, but
Right.
I thought that too was lending to the plausibility of this sort of encounter between truly alien aliens and human
Right.
beings.
Right.
Okay, we also meet the Nearys. We talked a little bit about
Yes.
their chaotic, messy household and the overgrown dad, Roy,
Yes.
played by Richard Dreyfuss, of course. Good casting for that. I mean, Dreyfuss was in Jaws. I thought he was a good
Yes.
pick to be Roy.
I thought he did a good job as Roy. I have to admit, I don't know that I ever like Roy,
No,
and I don't like his family.
no. Well, I can be forgiving to the kids because they're
Sure.
kids,
Right.
and we'll get into some of their reactions to Roy's descent into madness.
Right.
But Ronnie, it was clear from almost the beginning that he and she are on totally different wavelengths.
Yes. You should be nicer to Terry Garr. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't say anything bad about Terry Garr. She had the
No, I meant Roy.
yeah.
I didn't mean you.
Oh, he should be nicer.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah.
well, you
Well, you
feeling
can say
guilty
that.
about it, Tom?
You can say that. Now people are wondering, what did Tom do to Terry Garr anyway? She's so likable.
That's right.
It's just my disappointment that the pilot of that show that
Oh, yeah, that'd have been
sort of
great. Gary
yeah
Seven.
the Gary Seven show didn't go anywhere.
That's right.
Why did you waste my time with that episode then?
That's right. Filler.
I forgot that she was in After Hours.
After Hours. I don't
That's the
remember.
Scorsese comedy.
I don't think I've seen After Hours.
Oh, okay.
She was in a bunch of stuff for a while there. She was,
Oh yeah, Young Frankenstein. I mean,
oh,
she's
Young Frankenstein,
fantastic in
and
Young Frankenstein.
the movie I referenced the other day that I've already, the other podcast I've already forgot what was called, the one about Vegas.
Hmm.
Um, something Hart anyway. And then she was on Friends. So
Welcome
anyway,
to Ancient Geeks, where Tom and
we talk
Steven
about
misremember movies.
that's right. And think about Terry Garr being on David Letterman back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, she was always fun. She was
yeah,
like one of those people like this movie's probably going to be good as she's
that's
in
right.
it. At
That's
least the
right.
pair the Terry Gar parts will be
That's right.
good. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I also had the same reaction from the very beginning of seeing this movie. Just like, yeah, Roy's not necessarily
So I know we might as well talk about it for a moment right now, so I don't forget about it. I don't, and to be clear, I don't need to like this family necessarily,
no.
but I also feel like it would have some of what happens that we'll talk about in a minute would have hit a little better, I think, if they dialed it back a couple of notches.
Yeah.
Because the interaction with Roy and his older son about going to the movies or going to play goofy golf
Hmm.
borderline felt abusive, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I it blunts to me the scene later with the mashed potatoes, to be honest. And I'm not quite sure what I can live with the notion. I'm not quite sure what the script wants me to think. And granted, it's not the script's job to tell me what to
Hmm.
think exactly, but am I to be okay with Roy get all the way to the end with Roy leaving, kissing what's her name? I forgot her name now.
Jillian.
Jillian, and then is that trauma? Is that it's supposed to be some other signal about his life with his wife and the
Hmm.
fact that he's willing to leave? How much of that's compulsion? How much of that is he really doesn't like his life and is just
Hmm.
willing to take off? I don't know how much. Are we to understand that this really is a totally unpleasant situation and therefore that justifies what he does? Or do we understand that there's something about that element of the script that bothers me. Does that
Yeah.
make any sense?
No, I like the kiss, for example, we're jumping ahead, is
Yeah.
the scene probably that I find most uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like why? Is it just like in the heat of the moment that they kiss or
Like I
whatever?
said,
But
to me, it was about
anyway,
trauma, but even then, I think he was
yeah,
supposed to signal something about he's already left his family, basically, kind of thing. It was just, I
yeah.
don't
Was he
know.
was he even actually there? I mean,
Well, there's
at
that
the beginning,
too.
the fact that
That's
he is so impatient about goofy golf.
just so impatient, so unnecessarily impatient
Yes. Oh, you
and
could
it's
watch this
so,
classic Disney movie, or you could play with poop. Your choice.
that's right. That's right. That's right. And just the fact that he was so focused on his trains,
Yeah.
I assume the signal's supposed to be that he's juvenile to some degree, right? And not to
Yeah.
pick on anybody that likes model trains, and I like plenty of things that someone might say are juvenile.
Hmm.
After all, I'm making a podcast about, science fiction, and I like Legos, but Lego, pardon me. But it just felt almost transgressive in a certain way, right? It's not
Hmm.
just that I like something that might be considered a little less than adult. It would be like building models or building a Lego set or even doing woodworking or just like in front of your family and then griping at them because they don't want to do what you want to do. That just seemed, and maybe it's the point. I don't know. It just
Right.
didn't quite jive with me entirely.
Well, I think for this kind of story, if you're going to pick an average person out,
Right.
to be contacted by the aliens, and we don't know what their criteria are for doing this,
Right.
they're just, I don't know, likely to be ordinary schlubs with
That's fair.
strengths and weaknesses, foibles, you name it.
I guess I wasn't sure what his strengths were supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah, and I also wondered like to what extent it was influenced by the character that he played in Jaws, because Richard
Mm,
Dreyfuss in that movie also not a terribly likable person,
yeah.
but
I guess maybe this.
they don't need to be heroic for this role.
No, no,
Right.
how about this? And again, this is me tone policing, or I don't know what I'm doing. I'm
Hmm.
thinking through. I thought about this when I was watching the movie, so this is not just all coming to me now. It just feels to me like it's a calibration question to me. I think I
Yes.
would have been I would have found perhaps the climax a little more interesting if there was more of a sacrifice that he was engaging in instead of what we get from this character, which is I think he's just kind of escaping. Or maybe we could go the other way and justify the escaping more. I don't know. It's a weird balance to me.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm supposed to feel okay. So again, we already referenced it. I'll go instead, right? He's having the breakdown, and he's obsessing like the other characters are who are being compelled to go to Devil's Tower. The
Hmm.
shape is in his brain. He's making that out of the mashed potatoes, and his
Right.
son starts crying. So I think this is a poignant scene, um, but the relationship as displayed earlier with the
Hmm.
goofy golf and Pinocchio and the train set and just sort of yelling at the kids didn't suggest to me that the kid would be as empathetic about his father's breakdown as he was. That was to me, that's a script problem to me. I don't, I don't,
Mm.
I don't know why the kid would have fully understood what his dad was having a breakdown because he was making a mashed potato tower, especially since they didn't seem to connect earlier in the film. And so that was, I mean, it just bothered me a little bit. And then I kind of lost the next thing I was going to say, but that right there was something that I found difficult or not satisfying. How about that? Again, it's a calibration issue, but
Yeah, see. I felt a little more generous to that because
Mhm.
it seemed like the sort of thing that a child would feel. I know there's something wrong here. I can kind of sense
Sure.
a problem, especially if the parents are bickering over something. I don't know what it is, but he's still my dad. Uh, Want to try to be sympathetic or try to help hold things
Hmm.
together here, even though I'm a child and really have no leverage over the situation. Maybe there's something that I can do. So I thought the kids were really good in this movie.
Hmm.
They behaved like children, uh, instead of like little adults, which I think sometimes actually
That's fair.
Spielberg later makes the mistake of trying to make kids into little adults and things like the Goonies and other.
There's just so much chaos earlier,
Hmm.
which I accept having had three children that chaos is often the rule. It just we went from like there's a one scene where they're pounding on the piano and stuff's going on. That's
Right.
before. I think that's before. Um, there just seemed to be some almost as there had been a little less of the chaos. That scene would have worked for me
Hmm.
better
Yes. Okay.
because there was so much noise in this family before, just so much
Hmm.
noise on
Yes.
so many different levels.
True.
Noise between the kids, between the parents themselves, between the parents and the kids. It doesn't seem very happy. It doesn't seem like they're all that connected to one another.
Well, he's
And
not
then
great at comforting his children when they're terrified.
no, terrible. But I mean, there just doesn't. I was just trying to figure out when this kid was so. Again, I think it's a good scene, self-contained.
Hmm.
In the broader context, it just feels like I don't totally understand where the empathy came
Hmm.
from. Anyway, I'm belaboring the points.
Welcome to Ancient Geeks, where we critique parenting in movies.
Sure,
All right, and then we get
I was a
the.
better dad than Roy was.
So,
So I'd
anyways,
like to think. Anyway, go moving right along.
so then we get Barry runs off
Yeah.
in one prong of this sort of
Hmm.
storyline that's coming together now. Where Jillian's chasing him, he runs out onto the road.
Hmm.
Roy is in his
Yeah.
truck.
Yes.
He's trying to figure out what the heck is going on. He almost runs over
Yes.
the kid. And this is also I'm skipping ahead also right after the great scene with Roy's first encounter. But anyway,
Yeah.
the two
That
the
was a
two, the two of
great
them
scene.
the two parents come together. Um, let's
That's a
let's backtrack to the
That's a
first encounter.
WTF moment. That was a great scene.
Yes, that I think
Scary
was
and the light and the whole and also, the way it's filmed, you think it's
yeah.
just another car at first and it's a great reveal, I think.
Yeah. And I think this is the scene, certainly when I first saw this movie, where I thought, this is a damn good movie because there's so
Hmm.
many. excellent touches to it. You know, like
Yes.
other scenes are interesting, very, as I'm arguing, I thought the families were convincing and so forth. But
Hmm.
anyway, just like so the lights come up from behind
Hmm.
you the first time and it's an actual car and the people yell at Roy for parking on the road and then another
Hmm.
set of lights come up and it's not a car and it
Right.
slowly lifts up and
Yes.
you know it's not a car.
Right.
Oh, it's just brilliant. And
That was very good.
things flying around in the truck and all that the whole scene was fantastic and
Yes.
you know what the heck is going on here the mailbox is flopping open and shut and the train signal turning off
Yes.
and on and everything wiggling around it's just wonderful.
It's a great scene. Well
Yeah,
done.
yeah, and it's a step up, you know, when we get to the abduction scene
Hmm.
of Barry, but it's like there's
Yes.
a nice clean line in the movie again of you know establishing things. You know these aliens come along, they do these strange things. We can't quite figure out their motives. Like they're shining a light down that sunburns people.
Yes.
If that's not kind, it scare the hell out of people for God knows what
Right.
reason. Anyway, good scene. All right. So then the chase happens, you know, where well actually let me before we get into the chase, I love also where there are just these people sitting on the side of
Yeah.
the road. Okay, suddenly
The-
like who are these people? Why are they sitting there? They seem to know something's going on, but it's not clear how much they know and
There's a very creepy family, and the guy's whistling. She'll be coming around the mountain.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, and
Yeah.
very odd in a good
Yeah.
kind of way.
Yeah, and it's like a mix of average looking people too.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, without like being sometimes, you know, movies or TV shows from this period will either have people being too beautiful
Hmm.
or too lumpy, you know, for lack of a better word. And
Lumpy can't be beautiful, Tom. Now, come on.
I know I'm not lump
Yeah,
shaming anybody,
anti-lumpite.
but it's the attitude of the filmmaker
I
towards the average person. I think like the
I
extreme of
concur.
that is like in Fellini movies where there are these people who all look really weird, you know, in the frame. Anyway, okay. So Roy chases the UFOs along with the police and some other people. They're flying around on kind of like the level of the road itself. They fly through this toll gate.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, this is the first time we see the UFOs in the film, and I
Yes.
really like the UFO designs in this movie.
No, it's
Did
very
Ben
very
do
cool.
now? Yeah. What did you
Yeah, I
think?
agree. No, I agree. I like the way they evoke some of the classic UFO tropes without being just flying saucers. I also like the light stuff. It's just great.
Yeah. I mean, I liked in the earlier scene with Roy and his truck that stalls, like you see it with the lights on and then they
Hmm.
turn off and you kind of see like a spaceship like
Yes,
you know, a little
up in
bit
the
like
sky.
Star Wars spaceships, but you don't really see it too clearly. It's very
Right.
dark. But most of the time you're seeing these fuzzy lights, you know,
Hmm.
bright primary colors and I
Yes,
thought that they were terrific.
it was.
Again, it didn't reveal anything, right?
Right, that's
It's
right.
alien.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so then after the chase, we really start Roy's breakdown,
Yes.
including you know Roy and Ronnie having you know kind of a push me pull you sort of conversation um, back at home,
Hmm.
and you also like when he drags them out to the site where
Yes.
you know where the original sighting, you know, like oh remember what we used to come out here and just
Yes.
you know kind of look at each other or
Yes.
yeah. Anyway.
No, and that was a good scene. It was also,
Yeah.
clear of some of the familial breakdown. Um, and I also, before I forget, he goes back again to that place where they're all the people
Hmm.
from before there. And the helicopter comes up. I like the way the movie at least made it Roy have a reason to doubt what he saw
Yes.
with because the one thing was shaking back and forth, kind of like the railroad crossing, and the
Yeah.
lights were similar, and I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. It was just a wash from the helicopter, but he didn't
Yeah,
know that initially.
right.
But you know, I think it is really good filmmaking. It's telling you the story about the disintegration of their marriage,
Hmm.
very capably. We go to the scene that was added
Mm-hmm.
to the theatrical version, the Cotopaxi ship
Which is cool.
in the Gobi Desert,
Mm-hmm.
which was very good.
Yes.
So, how cool was it to have Francois Truffaut in this movie? It is just. I remember, like at the time, saying, "I kind of know this guy. I haven't seen any movies, but I know he's a big deal if you really follow foreign films." And then later seeing, it's like, "Damn, I have seen Francois
He's
Truffaut's
great. Yeah.
movies now,
He's
and
great.
like, what an amazing choice to have him in that
Mm.
role."
That was really great.
Yeah.
He
Because
was really
he's
good in the movie.
also a little bit of an alien just by
Yeah,
virtue of
that's
him
a
being
fair point.
French. And he clearly doesn't like share the same perspective on things as like the military people do later
That's right.
in the movie and so forth. That was one of the best parts of the movie. Uh, okay, so Roy gets fired.
Hmm.
Um, Not surprisingly, though it is seemed a little abrupt. They wouldn't even talk to him.
Yeah, I agree. I still, I mean, I guess they sort of foreshadowed when he turned his radio off and they weren't happy about that fact. I will say
Hmm.
this, right? Because it was a little unclear to me because there is a scene from the theatrical release where he goes into work and it's clear he works for the power company
Right.
and he gets sent out to do this stuff. And that's totally taken out of this version. So I
Hmm.
was a little confused as what his job was at first. Maybe
Yes.
I just missed it, but
Hmm.
and also therefore it was a little confusing as to why I got fired. It's a little because I did put the theatrical release on and kind of fast forward through it because there were a couple things I was curious about whether I remembered something
Right.
wrong or not. And I did watch that scene, and then I found again a comparison also that sort of reiterated some of the stuff. So that was a little confusing to me as to why he got fired.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem, very sudden. Maybe he was a bad employee. Who knows? I
Right.
don't. Yeah. We get the India scene.
Mm-hmm.
So we've gone from, the Mexican desert to the
Mm-hmm.
Gobi Desert, now to
Mm-hmm.
India as
Mm-hmm.
the scientists are trying to figure out what the heck is going on. The
Yes.
the really lovely chanting.
Yeah. A beautiful scene. Amazing
Yeah.
scene.
Just moving in the way that
Mm-hmm.
like choral music can be incredibly
Yes.
moving.
Yes.
Um, and the great moment when they say ask them, where it came
Right.
from,
Right.
the message was coming from, and everybody points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very, I don't, I feel like that was kind of a very Spielbergian shot, but I don't know exactly why. But the camera's
Yes.
behind all the hands. The people are in front that are asking the question, and all the fingers all go up
Yeah.
between the camera and the
Right.
scientist.
Well, the
It's
the meaningful thing kind of pops into the shot.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You don't need to see the people. You see the essential part of it, which is all the hands pointing
Yes.
skyward.
Agreed.
Um, all right, and then we get Barry's abduction.
Hmm. Yes.
This movie, so when I saw this movie for the first time, this was a damn scary scene for me.
It's an amazing scene, and it's a really
Yeah.
excellent use because really you stop and think about it.
Yeah.
It's mostly just light
Hmm.
and moving objects,
Yeah.
but it is incredibly well done. And the way in which he uses light in this scene, I think really impressed me. It also made me think about Poltergeist
Yes.
later. That's later though, right? So, but yeah, it was. I was impressed with the scene.
Yeah. Bright light being something to
Yes.
to use to terrify people, which is usually the opposite. It's the absence of light.
Well, especially
Uh,
since it's right, but it's also, and they're out in the middle of the country,
right.
right?
Hmm.
And I think because I live out in the middle of the country now, so it made me, I think, even accentuate in my mind what bright lights would mean that something's really weird going. I mean, like not just
Right.
that, because there's no place for the light to come from. So something's going on. It's not my
Hmm.
neighbors being crazy because they're not neighbors right there. It was,
Right.
yeah, it was a frightening.
Yeah, and Jillian's desperation to
Yes, yes.
prevent her son from getting
Hmm.
kidnapped, closing the fireplace flue and
Yes, yes,
putting something on top of the vent,
yes.
uh, and then he kind of sneaks out the dog door and they snatch him, but we don't see that
That's right.
actual moment of abduction. I also think that this is a terrific scene for how well Spielberg uses the sky in this movie,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
sounds trivial or something that you just sort of expect a filmmaker to do if it's a movie about UFOs. But the night sky
Hmm.
is lovely. You know,
Yes.
the clouds that the aliens are apparently
Right.
generating to kind of hide their motion across populated
Hmm.
areas, just the way that that sort of billows forth. It just,
Well, and the storm sounds. I mean, there's
yeah.
storm sounds, and there is a sort of kind of an ominousness about the possibility that a storm is coming too.
Hmm.
It is also, especially, I think, salient in the country, in certain parts of the country, right, where
Hmm.
large thundering clouds could portend, substantial destruction, depending on what's going
Right,
on. All that kind of imagery was there as well.
right. And there's sort of stereotypical reaction people have to the night sky. They get to some place that's very dark, and they see the absolutely brilliant
Hmm.
starscape, and you have a sense of wonder at the universe at that particular moment, and you think
Hmm.
about your insignificance in comparison to the vaster cosmos and whatever. I think that's a hard thing to pull off in a movie, but
Yeah, yeah.
attracting your attention to the night sky like that and giving you a little bit of that sense, I think, is a definite accomplishment.
No, it was a great scene.
Yeah. All right. And from there, we go to the press conference,
Hmm.
the scene where, again, the authorities are trying to downplay all the strange things that have been happening. And the guy that we saw earlier on the side of the road kind of undercuts what all the average citizens are trying to do there by
Yes,
saying,
that's
I
right.
saw Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's right.
This very sort of countrified way
Yeah,
he begins his account. Well, it was back in 1971.
that's that's right. Yeah, and that's when and this is another scene that I struck me. Um, Again, as I said before, the room is full, and that's
Right.
evocative in and of itself. But Spielberg frames again these people in particular ways. He uses the reflective surface of the conference table effectively, the lighting of the room. I was just impressed.
Yeah.
And it's
And
a fairly mundane scene otherwise.
yeah, and Jillian hiding in a corner of the elevator
Yeah,
was so sad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, good
Uh,
stuff.
we have the famous mashed potatoes scene then, where
Yes,
Roy,
yes.
is at the dinner table. He's saying, "Oh, I'm sorry for what's going on. I can't really explain it." I didn't get into the shower scene, but anyway, it's part of another important part of the.
Well, that comes
Uh,
next, right? That's after
yeah,
the master.
yeah. Oh, that's right. It's after. So
And
anyway,
that was added. It wasn't in the theatrical release, if I understand
right.
properly.
Yeah.
And
So he.
it's a tough scene actually. It's also accentuates the dysfunction of his family.
Right.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh no, not at all. It was a good interruption. But he senses the importance of this shape without really knowing what it is, as he's like
Right.
throwing more potatoes onto his plate, and everybody's looking at him, knowing something is definitely not right.
It's all the
Um,
carbs, Tom. There's too many carbs.
yeah, the aliens want us to eat too many carbs so we can all have heart attacks and they can colonize the planet more easily.
That was the first draft of Pluribus, but it would take too long.
That's right. I think the aliens are actually behind Taco Bell. Get the youth of America to develop incredibly terrible eating habits early on, and then we're much easier to subdue. Right. And then we have the shower scene, and it's
Hmm.
the crybaby, scene,
That
where
was an effective scene, but
yeah,
boy, oh boy, I mean, again, it's not. I'm not sure what I'm asking for. It just accentuate the way they yelled at the kids, and I know they're scared, especially Ronnie's scared and upset,
hmm.
but it was just unpleasant.
Oh
And maybe it's
yeah,
all it was supposed to be, but it was definitely unpleasant.
yeah, and this is a big part of the movie.
Yeah,
Uh, and I think like the second time I saw it, I had forgotten how much of the movie it was. Because again, I feel like if you look at different ways you might spin this particular story, it might be just, oh, this person has a message from beyond that they feel compelled to answer,
Mm-hmm.
and they leave their family. They say, I don't know why I need to do this, but I absolutely have to. And
Mm-hmm.
you could imagine a version of this script that would be more sympathetic in people being kinder to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's not kind at all. It's
No, no,
it's
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 not
the
kind
it's
at
the most
all.
kind of scary family dysfunction
Yes.
that I think you see in a science fiction movie, frankly.
Mm. Yeah, and then at first he's going to go back to being he's going to apologize, but then he has his epiphany about the shape. And
Hmm.
that so there is the extended going crazy scene with him pulling out the plants
Hmm.
and speaking as someone that likes gardening, man, those plants are amazingly have shallow roots. Anyway,
Yes, they
just
do.
really easy to pull out those boxwoods. I don't know, man. Anyway,
Well, maybe they were just planted. Like they just had gone to the nursery and planted
apparently,
them. Yes.
apparently, but um, I will say because this is ancient geeks, there is a cameo of the Starship Enterprise and a D7 battle
Yes.
cruiser in this movie.
In the background
Um,
of one of the kids'
of,
rooms.
yeah, so
Yeah, so this we're talking about the scene now where he just kind of goes
he's
completely nuts
going
and
he's going to build Devil's Tower because he's got this vision fully in his mind about what it looks like, and he's throwing bricks and dirt and the kids are starting to help him, and Ronnie's
mhm.
like freaking out. I think it's a good scene. I think that scene goes on too long though.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it may be. Because it is, I imagine from a child's perspective, terrifying, right? And so we're
Sure.
seeing the kids being frightened by this or
Oh, some
trying
of
to
them
be
are, or
helpful,
yeah, trying to be helpful.
right? Trying to support your dad. You don't really know what's going on, but you're just a 5-year-old kid. So what do you
Right.
do?
Might be fun to throw
Uh,
things through the window at that point, but
yeah,
yeah.
break the window and just like start shoveling dirt and plants through it. I felt bad for the ducks.
Yeah, the ducks. Yeah. Clearly have a fairly lax HOA that you can have ducks in your yard.
That's right. So Ronnie leaves with the kids.
Yes.
The family has now finally disintegrated completely. And then he, because of the television coverage of Devil's Tower,
Yeah.
uh, you get to see then him realize what it is in his mind he's been trying to do.
No, building, it's a very, very impressive, sculpting work he does. And it is great the way they juxtapose the TV screen with the tower, the real tower and the fake tower, because the government's now doing their fake story because they've discovered
Hmm.
we skipped the part they figured out that they're getting a message to go to a certain geographical location, longitude and latitude,
Hmm.
which I guess is the only reason why Bob Balaban is a cartographer in this movie is so that he can read these things.
That's right. Yeah. So
Um,
anyway,
and-
I wanted to kind of stick with the Neri family,
sorry,
but
sorry,
since
sorry.
you brought up Bob Balaban, I want to jump back now to slightly
Okay.
earlier than this is when the scientists, they're getting a message. It's a set of
Yeah.
numbers. They don't know really what to do with it. They figure out its latitude and longitude.
Hmm.
I love rolling out the giant
The giant globe is
giant
great. Yeah.
globe. It's like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
$2,500 worth of
That's
globe
right.
there.
I know. I know.
That you're
Right.
defacing.
Yes, yes.
Uh, and then the authorities
Yes.
concoct this crisis that a lethal chemical has been released in the atmosphere and
Mm.
everybody has to evacuate. Is this like the most benevolent conspiracy in a 70s movie?
Oh, yeah. Clearly. Clearly. They didn't even kill the cows. They just put them to sleep.
That they just put them to sleep, right? Yeah, and they're actually trying to be kind to the
Yes.
people later that they capture who have been drawn to
Hmm.
Devil's Tower.
Yes, that's
Uh,
right.
anyway, so now we get to Roy is traveling towards Devil Tower. Jillian
Mm,
is
mm,
traveling towards Devil
hmm.
Tower. They both figured out what the heck is going on from the television. By the way, I noticed on this rewatch that the TV always playing in the background not is
Hmm.
just isn't a thing that you see in a lot of households, but also like I thought there was like a very clever way, aside from some in jokes here and there, of really showing like the contrast between the mundane and the wondrous. It's like
Okay.
there is like an ordinary world that Roy and Jillian are getting pulled out of. And
Hmm.
there's like a lot of chatter in that ordinary world, and like the TV provides a lot of it, just kind of just
Hmm.
random nonsense that's on the TV. that's not important aside from like
Right.
having Marvin the Martian in one of the
Yeah,
scenes.
I did like Marvin the Martian. And then unfortunately I've had the Budweiser song in my head now for a couple of
Oh
days
no. You know what
because of
I've
this
had?
movie.
I've had in my head, where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Right. Okay, so they independently travel to Devil's Tower and meet a
Hmm.
scene with a crowd.
Again, with a huge crowd of people, a really well shot scene.
Yeah, of all the people being evacuated. And yeah, and I also like you can't hear them talking in
Well,
the
yeah,
midst of that crowd.
but at some point you can hear her calling his name, but I don't think we either see her or he sees her. We don't see her. I don't think he sees her either. But if it's kind of almost mixed in with the crowd noise
Right,
as and they finally do meet and yeah, he's
right.
not getting the deposit back on that station wagon though.
Nope, nope. They try to get to Devil's Tower on their
Yeah.
own.
Yes.
I love like driving through the barricade. It's like
Yes.
there's no hesitation. Neither of them
No.
really say, "Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look up ahead. We're about to smash through this wooden barrier." No, they just kind of drive through blithely
Right.
as they continue talking.
Well, that
Uh,
but the fence is like stuck to the front of the car for half the
right, but
scene.
they're obsessed. They have to get
That's right.
there.
That's right. Yeah.
But then the authorities capture them.
Yes.
They're separated, and Roy meets Lacombe,
Yes.
Francois Truffaut's character, and they have a really interesting conversation where it goes from like berating him, like, "Why are you here? This is dangerous," and so forth, to,
Hmm.
"Oh, by the way, have you had any interesting dreams lately?"
That's right. Uh, so
Yeah,
I've got a question, and this has
yeah,
bothered me both times. Every time I've seen this movie, I've wondered. Although I think I figured it out. So they get the birds out of the car right after
right.
the authorities stop them, and they've
I had the
died.
same. Yes, I had the same
So
question.
did they die? Was it a coincidence? Was it the? I think maybe there was a residual gas from the helicopters,
Could be, or maybe they
but
just had like a little spritzer
yeah,
that
it's
they
like I always
covertly
felt
sprayed the
like
bird with.
it always felt a bit of a cheat that particular thing to me.
Yeah, they could have cut that. I didn't think that
Yeah. Anyway,
that added anything. I mean, because later they're wondering, well, maybe there is nerve gas that's
right,
been released. So,
right. Well, because they're all. I mean, I guess they committed to the bit. The
right.
authorities did because man, they are
Yes.
all wearing the gas masks when
Hmm.
the normies are around.
Hmm.
Now they take them off when they're not around, but they
Hmm.
really play it up big time. I was
Right.
kind of. It almost seemed like almost more than I could believe that you could get that good of a fake out going. But still, that's just a nitpick. Um, anyway, so they're
Yeah.
gonna fly them out, but they decide to take off.
Yeah. Roy just
Three of
rips
them.
off the gas mask, including Larry, the third person. So
Yes.
Jillian is also on the helicopter that's
Yes.
about to fly out. Another guy decides to run. I thought the reactions of the other people were believable. It's like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, maybe they have a reason for faking it. I don't know.
Right. Right. Right.
We're
Right.
going to
No,
stay here.
I think we'll stay
But
here.
yeah,
Yeah. They try to go up the mountain.
not
I,
everybody apparently has this compulsion for to the same degree too.
yeah. So two things. On the compulsion part, I wrote down and I thought about this during the movie. Roy is Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. He's the one that makes it to the end.
Yes,
'Cause all the other ones drop off over time. But
good point.
I did like the line where they're trying to figure out where to go,
Hmm.
and Roy says something like, "Well, you should try sculpting instead of drawing or whatever." That's how he
Oh
knew where to
yeah,
go. I thought that was pretty
right.
clever.
Yeah, that he has this detailed knowledge of the
3D,
contours
yeah,
of
yeah,
Devil's Tower from
yes,
making the
yes,
model. That was very cool.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you know, all three of them don't make it. Eventually, it's just Jillian and Roy
Hmm.
making it to the top. And Jillian decides that she doesn't want to sneak down into where all
Yeah,
the
to the
scientists are. Uh,
because they
kind of
watch part of the initial interaction with the smaller spaceships,
right.
both up in this little nook, and then Roy decides to go down. I will say I could have used a little less of climbing the tower.
Yeah, that could have been trimmed. I agree with
Um,
that.
I,
Like where he's like sliding back.
yeah, I just didn't do it. I
Yeah,
didn't. It
that
wasn't necessary.
yeah, it's
I,
like come
I,
on.
I, this is. Again, I think I'm channeling. Oh, I can see his face. A particular movie critic whose name Leonard Maltin, who I think always thinks movies are too long. I really, maybe an old man, but this movie just feels just a little too long. Um, I don't want to ever think about. I don't know what the magic is. The
Hmm.
ideal for me is for you to never want to wonder how much is left in the movie. I want it to be super, and maybe I'm asking too much. And
Mm-mm.
I will say, just as by way of an example, do you watch The Pit?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That show, I've noticed, especially this season,
Hmm.
I'm always surprised when it's over with. I'm so in that movie, that show is so engaging
Yes.
that it just, oh, it's over with already? That's what I want. That's the ideal. It's hard to come by, I know. But anyway,
Yeah.
I just
Well, I
there
often ask the question like, what could you cut from this movie? In fact, that's in
yeah,
the class I'm teaching. That's often a question I'll
yeah,
use as a standard uh, for judging a movie. Is well, could you have cut out this whole section and still
right. That's
make
right.
it like you were talking about Dances with Wolves, or like originally there
Yes.
was like a 4 hour cut of it, but
Too much
even
dancing.
at too much dancing, not enough wolves. Uh, but like even at 3 hours, are there things
Yeah,
that
yeah. Wow.
are there superfluous scenes, or
Yes.
could you have trimmed the scenes down even further? Because like the extended version of it apparently just like padded out particular scenes with more moments of the same
Sure.
scene, the same action
Sure.
going on, just goes on a little bit longer in some of the shots. Um, okay, so we finally
Anyway,
then
yeah.
get to what the whole movie has been building up to, which is the first contact.
Yes.
So they have the I don't know what you call it, landing pad with all the
Yeah.
equipment
Yes.
around and so forth. All the scientists going back and forth, and they're seen with tons of people.
Yes. Yes. Lots of people. Like very impressive. An
Hmm.
impressive set. And with
Right.
the big color board with the sound. Just
Yes.
fantastic. And the
Yeah.
guy with the keyboardist.
Yeah. Apparently, this was shot in an Air Force hangar in Alabama.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
I
There's an Air
wonder
Force
where.
base in Alabama
Yeah, well, there's one here in Montgomery. That may be
that
the
was
one.
apparently several times larger than the biggest Hollywood soundstage.
Huh.
Because
Now I'm curious.
because I didn't feel like this was shot indoors.
No, it
It
feels
does seem like
outside.
a vast space, which it was. So this is one long scene, really, of them experimenting with how to communicate. The kind of the smaller UFOs show up first. They kind of establish a protocol for communication. Um, the guy who's playing the tones,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like a dream job.
Right.
Wouldn't
No
that have been
kidding.
amazing to, if that actually were to happen, to be the person to, be controlling the music back and forth? And how wonderful it is that music is
Yes. No, I did like that.
kind of the lingua franca that they use
Yes.
to communicate. That brings the soundtrack into the movie.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
It's not just a layer above it, it is in the movie.
Oh no, it's essential, right? And like
Yeah.
I said, the way in which Williams weaves it into into that suite is incredibly well done and very emotionally impactful, I think, given what we see on
Hmm.
screen.
Yeah. So they establish the medium of communication. The mothership shows up, and that's a great shot. Just like Jillian turns, she's just awestruck by what she sees, and then we finally get to see the mothership.
Yes.
Another wonderful, wonderful design.
Yes, I totally agree. Totally agree. And again, the use of lighting, silhouettes, the crowd, the
Yeah,
colors is just absolutely amazing and impressive.
yeah. The mothership appears. There's more communication, and there's the sort of the exchange then. So
Yes,
the aliens release the abductees that they've taken over
right.
decades. You get to see like the astronaut team warming up, the people who
Yes, yes,
are
yes.
been
The
picked
re
to.
the red shirts.
the red shirts. They look like characters from V. They look like the
Yes, they
visitors
do. They do.
with the dark glasses and the red jumpsuits. Anyway, um, but of course they're not the ones to go because the aliens have already selected people to be the ones to be the human representative then for
Hmm.
whatever the next step is in
Yes.
this ongoing uh, relationship with humans. Uh,
Vivisection. Sorry. Oops.
yeah. Any other aspects of this scene stand out for you? I've got a couple, but
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and not to totally repeat myself, but I started. This is really when I started taking these shots of the screen, and I was just
yeah.
really intrigued by the blue light, the red light, um, the focusing on particular characters. Again, the vast number of people in the scene, along with the music and the sound design. It's just all very, very
Hmm.
impressive, and really is there's a crescendo to this movie in this final scene, and all of the workup is remarkable, and it
Yeah.
pays off at this point.
Yeah. And we say this about science fiction in general, whether it's, in print or on the screen, that it really needs to evoke a sense of wonder.
Sure.
And this to me is the primary film
Oh yeah,
example. I don't
sure.
think anything does it better than this scene in this movie, especially after all the buildup leading to this particular
No,
moment.
I think it fulfills the buildup. It does create a sense of wonder. It still maintains a sense of mystery, which,
Hmm.
some movies you might want more of the mystery solved than there is, but this movie is structured in a way that you really kind of can't solve all of the mystery, right?
Right.
It would diminish it in some ways. So yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, we get to see Barry reunited with Jillian.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of good, a lot of good scenes with Barry. He was a good child
Yeah,
actor.
he was a good child actor. I did notice that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
like, I also like the script was so good. Spielberg, kind of writing that his reaction to seeing the UFOs is ice cream
Right, right, right. That's right.
earlier
That's
in the
good.
film.
Well, the
Yeah.
kid doesn't speak that much, so there's a lot of
No.
face acting, which is amazing for a child of that age.
Yeah. So Roy leaves.
Mm.
Clearly he's been the one, and I liked that line, with Francois Truffaut. I envy you.
Hmm.
Um, although he is abandoning his family.
Yes, I know. It's again, there is that whole element is fine. I mean, it makes some semblance of sense.
Hmm.
But again, there's this question of is he compelled of his own, is it his own free will that's being sort of
Yeah, we don't know.
amplified, or is he really being drawn in a way that's unnatural? That's not totally clear.
Well, his
Um,
explanation often, I think, is understandable to some degree. It's I just want to
right,
know.
right. That's
Yeah,
fair. Right,
which I think that's something the audience shares too.
right. Yes,
Uh, we see the aliens finally. We get first introduced to that kind of very slender, tall alien,
yes,
and then all the other little childlike aliens that were actually children
yes, yes, yes,
in
yes.
costumes and shot so you don't see them too
That's
clearly.
right. That's right.
Perfect, absolutely perfect. Um, and the ship takes off, and we see it recede into space as
Right.
the credits roll. End of movie.
Well, there's also, and one of those I screenshot um, when they when the small aliens take Roy into the ship. They
Hmm.
have his arms spread out. It's almost like ascending into heaven, right?
Right. Yes.
It's anyway.
Yeah. Uh, so, what did you do right after watching this movie?
The other day,
Yeah.
I don't. You're asking me for something that I'm probably not answering the right way. I went to the bathroom, is what I did.
I That's okay. Thank you for sharing that. But after
Right?
your
Yeah.
bodily functions were
Yeah.
consummated there, what what did you do?
I mean, I guess what you're getting. I did think about the movie quite a bit. I thought a lot
Hmm.
about the visuals, and the music was still in my mind
Yeah.
after the film was over with.
I I went outside. I avoided looking at the news for a while. Like I
Hmm.
deliberately wanted the feeling that this movie left me with to linger as long as possible.
Actually, the honest answer is, after I did various, things that need to be taken care of, I watched an episode of Blake Seven. That's what I actually did right afterwards.
Because we're on a clock here, damn it. We got to watch
That's
all the
right.
Blake
That's
Sevens
right.
episodes
That's right.
before we do the next podcast.
But the movie did linger, I will confess. This is a movie that, again, I have seen more than once.
Hmm.
And while some things we have consumed, like we discussed last week, I, Robot, have not aged as well as we would like them to, I think
Right.
this has aged better. Again, I have my critiques or my weird things about the family part that I'm don't doesn't quite jive with me the way I would like, or maybe again I would trim. I don't know. I think I'm really to the point where I just feel like a movie should probably be close to 2 hours. And
Hmm.
that's just, I don't know, it's totally arbitrary, but I think
Right.
that's just kind of where unless there's a really good reason for it to be longer. Um, but that's minor, right? And we'll get to our grades in a moment, and it'll be clear
Right.
that I appreciated this movie more than I ever have before.
Hmm.
And again, my capacity to notice things visually, I think, has improved over my lifetime. And I really was impressed by a lot that I saw in this movie and the craftsmanship of the film.
Yeah. I think like the first time I watched this movie, I was just kind of engaged with the story, and
Yeah,
then
that's right.
more and more I was kind of appreciating how the film was made. But it never kind of lost its impact on me. As I said, it left me with this sort of joyous feeling at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and again, the sense of wonder that uh, is very hard, I think, to create as well as Spielberg does in this
No,
film.
I think it's one of his gifts, right?
Yeah,
And this one, like I said, it landed it quite well. Uh,
yeah.
so yeah.
All right, so let's go to our. Oh, actually, before we get to our letter grades, one trivial note: the man who invented the classification scheme of
Hmm.
Close Encounters of the First Times kind, second time kind, and so forth, has a cameo in the final scene.
No,
So
cool. I
yeah,
didn't know that.
so the scientist who like he steps up a little bit into the shot. He's got glasses and a pipe.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's J. Allen Hynek.
With the
Yeah,
beard.
yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that guy. I didn't know why
yeah.
he was so all of a sudden. Okay, so we're doing trivia too, so I looked because I was quite curious. So yeah, I did not realize the airship hangar was an abandoned World War II airship hangar at Brookley Air Force Base in Mobile, and two other things that are Alabama. The Barry's house is in Fairhope, which is outside of Mobile,
Hmm.
which makes sense. Um, and then that resonates now that I think about what I
Right.
funny, there's the railroad depot that's supposed to be in Wyoming.
Hmm.
That was also in Alabama. And the funny thing was, it's in Bay Minette, which is these are all near the Mobile area. Um, but and I when I saw that railroad depot, I'm like, I almost feel like I've seen that some. I didn't. I just thought it looked like, and maybe I have seen this one, this very specific one.
Hmm.
I've driven through Bay Minette. It's just a place where you're going to the beach, you might go through or going to the coast. I never stopped in Bay Minette except maybe at McDonald's. But it looked like railroad depots that I'd seen in this part of the country. So that's sort of interesting to
Right.
me that it was in fact in Alabama. So anyhow, and then just for fun, the toll booth is supposed to be in Ohio is in California, in San Pedro.
Hmm.
Anyway, so that's funny.
Yeah. And actually, I could really see that the house Jillian's house
Hmm.
does look like it's in a southern setting.
Hmm. It
It's supposed
does.
to be Indiana, but
Right.
now that you say that, yeah, that definitely looks like the South.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
All right, on to letter grades.
Letter grades.
Overall, what grade would you give this movie?
I'm giving this movie an A.
A, definitely. Yeah, if that wasn't obvious already.
Yes. Yeah.
And again, just to repeat, it's a movie I enjoy more every time I see it.
hmm
And then to kind of break it down into some specifics, direction, what would you give?
I gave it an A.
I gave it an A too, especially at this point in a filmmaker's career.
That's
I'd
fair.
even give
Yeah.
an A plus to it.
Sure. Sure.
The screenplay,
So
I
I
give
gave
it
it
an
an
A
A.
minus.
I gave it an A minus B plus.
Yeah.
I think the family stuff bugs me in a way that just doesn't, and I can't decide if it's just my own reaction to an unpleasant family or whether it doesn't work script in a scripted way that I kind of feel like maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but that was still, I mean, it was quite good.
Yeah, I gave it an A minus because I have nits. You know, the
Yeah,
bird that you mentioned
yeah, that's
was
yeah.
one. Other little things. I think I take the family scenes, especially the long,
hmm
protracted disintegration of
hmm
the family, as things get vastly worse
hmm
for Roy's sanity. It's more like when somebody does brush up against the imponderable, the cosmic,
hmm
and so forth, it may cause them to,
Well, see,
tumble out of control like that. In that sense, that if that was part of the message of the movie was, we are not necessarily dealing with, the most kind, understanding, gentle creatures in the
right.
universe. That would be one of the casualties of it. I can live with that.
I can live with it. I guess I'll say one more
Yeah.
thing, and maybe this is all a proof that there is something to critique here. I, I, I almost felt like there was two boxes, right?
Hmm.
There was the Roy's losing it box, which
Right.
is, and then there's the he doesn't like his family box.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay.
And I just felt like I needed the boxes to overlap a little bit more in a way that
Hmm.
would, like, I could live with, I think, I mean, clearly his breakdown further affects his relationship with his wife. That's clearly true, but it almost feels like they're in separate spheres because, like, he wakes up the next morning and he wants to apologize and everything's fine. And then he has a vision and he goes nuts again. I don't know. There was just something about it that didn't quite work for me. But I mean, a B plus is a good grade, as we've had this conversation before. So
Absolutely.
it's all fine.
Okay. Acting.
I gave it a B plus. I like the kids a little less than you did. And I thought the performances were good, but they weren't necessarily exceptional. How about you?
I would agree with that. I actually might even be a little harsh and give it a
Okay.
B.
Okay.
I think Terry Garr is good in this movie,
hmm
but it's also kind of a thankless role, and I don't know whether to put it on her shoulders and so forth. But
hmm
it's just, I don't, it just there's something that didn't quite work this time
Well,
when I
yeah.
was watching it.
Well, I think that links up again. I keep belaboring that. I think I think you're linking up to the family thing. I just feel like she was sometimes shrill in a way that I didn't understand.
Hmm.
And that's not even the right word because that word can be loaded. And I'm not trying to be sexist. I thought she was certainly, it was understandable that, like when she took the kids, make total sense. I mean, your husband's throwing boxwoods into the house. It's time to go.
Right.
And, um, but anyway, yeah, it was, I don't know. There was just, it could have been better, but it was B plus still pretty good.
Yeah.
Or even a
Yeah.
B. I could live with a B.
Yeah. And there were moments when I thought that Richard Dreyfuss was being a little too Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he
Totally
had
fair.
a persona that he had established or was establishing at that time in his career, and
hmm
eh, I don't particularly love that persona necessarily, but
Yeah, that's fair. Totally
okay.
fair.
Cinematography. What would you give the cinematography?
A plus.
A plus, definitely, and same
Yeah.
for special effects.
I gave it an A, but it's all
A plus, 1977.
that's a
So
fair
many,
point.
so many ways in which I think this movie could have blown it on the special effects.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, so Doug Trumbull, who oversaw the special effects for this movie, I just did an amazing job. Where at no point did I ever say that looks fake.
The only time I did was the big alien.
Yeah, and that was a puppet that
Yeah.
Carlo Rambaldi made. Carlo Rambaldi, who also did the alien costume and effects in the movie Alien.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So shout out to him as well as Doug Trumbull. Music,
A plus,
A
A plus
plus.
plus. It was
God.
off the charts. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, I think, I'd seen movies where John Williams scores before without really
Hmm.
paying much attention,
Right.
including the famous Jaws theme, but he didn't like, at least I didn't kind of put the two things together. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, there's this theme in this movie, and it
Hmm.
announces when the shark shows up. Here, it's like, oh my God, this soundtrack.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I love it. As I said, it's integral to the story itself.
Right.
I listened to it after the fact. It was a
Mm-hmm.
record that I had, I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed putting on. Um, and then, how would you give a grade to this movie as science fiction?
So I wrote down A minus, and I feel like I'm maybe a little generous. I don't know. I think it's a really great execution of a fairly basic idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I gave it a B because
Okay.
it's not a big idea movie
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the
That's what I
sense that
mean.
other films are. But
Right.
again, like the whole execution of
Mhm.
brushing up against the unfathomable, highly advanced alien civilization, fantastic.
Right. Yeah,
So,
agreed.
yeah, the ideas themselves weren't big, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
execution
Yeah,
astonishingly
yeah.
good.
Total. Yeah.
Uh, all right. Could anyone, if they dared to try, make a sequel to this movie?
I just, unless they're brilliant in a way that I can't conceive of,
Right.
I would say no. I don't know what that, I just think wouldn't work. Because all that
No.
then is just trying to explain this mystery or introduce these aliens. How
Mhm.
about this? If you have a really cool movie idea about a human that meets aliens and learning about their civilization, just write that movie. Don't try to make it a sequel to
Yeah.
this movie.
Don't
You know what
connect
I
it
mean?
to Close Encounters.
I don't think it just doesn't make sense. I think this, like I said, and again, I'm the guy that often wants more answers to questions, but I think, as I said a few minutes ago, the one of the triumphs of the ending is that it both satisfies the story needs, but still leaves a lot of the mystery intact.
Right.
I think that's just key to this movie.
Yeah, I think this movie, it's not as popular today as it was at the time, so
Right.
maybe there
Right.
wouldn't be a temptation to make a franchise out of it, though Hollywood just keeps trying to remake or
Sure.
sequelize movie after movie after movie. And it's just, I think the argument against franchises and remakes, this movie is so perfect for what it does.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, yeah.
There's no point whatsoever in even trying to make a sequel or a remake. Though the temptation would be there. I mean, we do live in an era when there is the resurgence of the weird, public fascination with things like UFOs, like that spate of
Hmm.
coverage of the UFO footage a couple of years ago. And,
Yes.
there are more people who believe in all kinds of things like Bigfoot and so forth. Thank you, Internet, for that. Uh, is people build online communities around these things, but it doesn't seem like it's inspired a lot of interest in UFOs again.
Not
Uh,
like the 70s. The
UFO
70s just
UFO
different, right?
movies,
But even, I don't even know. I mean, I know there was,
Mhm.
I forget because they use a different term now. What's the term they
Mhm.
use now? I might look it up.
What?
To describe those encounters that the Air Force had.
Oh
They use a
yeah.
different term. Um,
Oh, you mean UAPs?
yeah, yeah, I think that's what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, I think
But
that's it.
but it just doesn't feel like there's the same kind of zeitgeisty belief that maybe there are aliens flying around. It just doesn't seem to be the same. I don't know. Maybe
Right, you're
it's
not
just
encountering. Well, the medium used to be magazines and books, about UFOs or now we call them unidentified aerial phenomena. Like that was just like they were always kind of there that if you wanted to be interested in it, you could pick it up and run with it and flip
I mean,
through
I
it in the
think
bookstore.
the last time it seemed to be even partially in the zeitgeist was the crop circle phenomenon,
Yeah.
and that's been a while now.
So I think a more important question though is why aren't there more movies that not to try to repeat a UFO movie like Close Encounters, but are science fiction films that are based on generating a sense of wonder.
I've been thinking about that because I saw the question. I think so. I have multiple thoughts. I mean, one, it may be simply that this movie is so purely about generating that sense of wonder that it's hard to find a comparison. Even
Hmm.
at the time, I mean, I think E.T. tried, but I can't think of a movie that quite hits the same note. Do you have a comparison in mind at the time?
At the time, no. Not, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think I would do a contemporary comparison to Arrival.
Okay, that was,
Wi-
I'd made, it's what I've not seen, but I put it on a list of
Right.
possible.
It's a movie about unfathomable aliens and trying to communicate and so forth. So it's a little on the nose. But I think one of the things I didn't like about that movie was it artificially tried to create this sort of human drama on the side,
Right,
and it seemed unnecessary. I mean, this movie doesn't have anything unnecessary in it, right?
right.
It stays totally focused on a particular story about contactees leading up to
Hmm.
this grand moment of, of revelation at the end. Um, where that movie, I think, made a big misstep into trying to like
Hmm.
say, well,
So,
people won't just be interested in that; they have to
right,
throw on some
sure.
sort of cancer subplot.
So, but that would strike me as then not an answer to the question, why don't people make movies that try to deal with
No,
wonder? It's just they didn't do a very good job of it. I mean, I don't know. And the movies that I've seen that might kind of fit, I mean, Gravity kind of.
maybe, or Interstellar.
Interstellar's on my list, which I haven't seen. The Martian, which is really more about the triumph of human ingenuity than it is about a sense of wonder per se.
Yeah,
But
there's
it's kind of in the,
Ad Astra.
yeah, I haven't seen Ad Astra. And then there's this movie coming, and I had no idea if it's any good or not. I just remember seeing the trailer when we saw Superman around that time. Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, that's coming out.
At least try. I'm just like, these all may be attempts, but so I guess the theme is not totally gone now, but Close Encounters just really was. I just think a triumph, really, a Spielbergian triumph, if I can
Yeah,
use the term. And I don't know that I can think of anything that quite has that exact feeling to it at the end. There must be examples, and
yeah.
maybe they're not space movies. Maybe there's some other kind of movie. But it really is. It
Well,
is and again, it's a combination of the visuals, the music,
uh,
and the culmination of the story. I think that really, I think you can't separate them out.
right.
Because as I think about the wonder part of it is just that the symphonic, orchestral, sort of, there's a word, I can't conjure it. When the orchestra plays the tones
Hmm.
with the strings it is pretty amazing, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I think, often the movies that we're describing, the contemporary movies, may try to evoke a sense of wonder, but it's secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is the purpose of the movie, right? It
Hmm.
is, as we said, a grand buildup, an investigation, discovery, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call the bulk of the movie leading up to the end, where, like in Interstellar, it's trying to figure out a way to save the Earth. It's anyway. It's not something focused on like there was like a computer game. Did you ever play The Dig?
No,
It was a
I know
LucasArts
Dig
adventure.
Dug.
Now I've got that music playing in my
Sorry,
head.
sorry.
But anyway, it was like, like I got interested in that because, and I'm making the connection now that I didn't at the time, but it was about a dig surrounding an alien
Right.
artifact and what would they discover about it and so forth. And there's not a lot about just the discovery and the sense of wonder around the mystery itself or the revelation of the
Actually,
conclusion to the mystery.
the only movie that I can think of that actually maybe fits in the Close Encounters category is 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, that would be the older.
Yeah,
example.
going back in time.
And again, where it didn't explain everything at the end.
No, it did not.
Quite the opposite. Things happened, and you could piece together sort of what was happening with all the weird
Yeah.
psychedelic visuals and the baby and so forth. But anyway, and I thought that was as just as defensible approach as Close Encounter makes to the conclusion. Okay, so just wrapping up, did we convince ourselves that this was the movie that made Spielberg Spielberg?
I think it's yeah, it's certainly central.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think that, I started with the hypothesis when I was watching the movie and taking notes and talking with you, and in the end, yeah, I just
I
dissecting the
mean,
movie the way that we have, I can really see all the bits and pieces coming
yeah.
together with this whole that's greater than the sum of its parts, to use a cliche.
I just like I said, it really does just between Jaws, Close Encounters, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark and ET over a 7 year period is
Yeah.
just kind of remarkable. Um, and then I wrote down in my notes because and the first time that I realized that he didn't just make popcorn movies was The Color Purple in '85. He
Oh
really
yeah.
has a remarkable uh, oeuvre.
Yeah. Yeah. Color
What's
Purple, Schindler's List.
so I realize that you're probably gonna not have one. I have some, I wrote down my biggest personal Spielberg omissions. Do you have any that you know you should have seen but haven't seen, or you just seen all of them because you're Professor Movie Man?
I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure there are.
So I've got three, and they're all big ones. I've already admitted I haven't seen Jaws.
Okay.
Never seen Jaws. I've never seen Schindler's List, and I've never seen Saving Private Ryan. So I've got some homework at some point, but I've not seen those movies.
I have seen all of those. And let me see here. If there's anything that jumps out. You haven't seen Duel either.
No, I don't. I've not seen
I
Duel.
have, it's not, a lot of the minor movies I haven't seen. Like I haven't seen Hook.
I think I've seen Hook. I've seen Hook.
Uh, let's
Um,
see.
I know it was on in my house at some point when I was in college, I guess. So I've sort of seen it. I don't think I sat down and watched it, but I don't think Hook, though. Hook is not, I don't think it's at the top of his list.
No, no, I don't think I've seen significant movies. I've seen
You've seen
all of
Lincoln.
them.
I'm sure you've seen
Oh,
Lincoln.
I've definitely seen Lincoln. I've even seen like War of the Worlds. I
No,
haven't seen The
Lincoln's the
Adventures
last
of
one.
Tintin.
I did
But
actually. I saw it in the theater. I saw The Adventures of Tintin
okay.
and Lincoln in the theater. Have you seen The Fablemans? I have
Uh,
not seen The
I
Fablemans.
haven't seen the Fable. I have seen the Fablemans. I
Okay.
have not seen Ready Player One. And I haven't read the book either.
I've
And
read the
just sort
book.
of nerd nostalgia doesn't really appeal to me, to be honest. Weird saying
Well,
that, given our podcast,
yeah, I think maybe
but
you best
that
rethink
being
that, my friend.
that being the whole point of the movie, just
Yeah, I haven't watched,
no,
I've
thank
not
you.
heard great. I read the book. It was kind of fun, but it was definitely, built on a certain set of, it was written for us. It's a lot of stuff. But yeah, I've not,
Okay,
not seen the movie.
yeah.
But I mean, as a book, it's pretty forgettable. I didn't really want to read the second one.
Though it's interesting. So a friend of ours is reading the Adventures of Cavalier and Clay,
Okay.
and that's about a fictionalized version of Siegel and Schuster, the creators of Superman,
Okay.
and she's enjoying it, and a lot of people have enjoyed that book who are not nerds.
Okay.
And the same thing with there's a book Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is really about people making video games.
Yeah,
And a
that
lot of
sounds
people I
familiar.
know who are not video game players and not geeks enjoy that book. So it's not that, the subject matter makes it impossible to be appealing to the broader audience. It just seemed like both the book and the movie, which
Oh,
I haven't read or seen,
Yeah.
seem to rely on it too much.
Ready Player One, without any doubt, is only, I think, fully accessible by nerds who will be excited that, you know,
Hmm.
um, specific D&D modules are being referenced in the the text, that kind of thing. It really
Yeah.
is that kind of thing. It was a very light read. I had a friend of mine, uh, former colleague, who recommended it, and that's how I ended up reading it. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun, but
Where
it
Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I read, is, like a really interesting story about creative types, kind of really dedicated to their craft, and an interesting triangular relationship among the three lead characters. So there was a lot there, but just like shout outs to the Iron Giant and Speed
mm,
Racer and so forth. I just like, I don't, that's not a good use of 2 hours of my life.
yeah. Speed Racer and Iron Giant are pretty good though. But anyway,
They are good, but I can go watch them.
I know. Anyway,
Okay, so our wrap up question about merch. Was there anything you had?
I had
You didn't see it
nothing.
at the time, but even, like
I had nothing
giving
except the
you a
music.
pass.
I had some DVDs. Yeah, as a time traveler, I had some CDs that had the music on it.
Right.
That's as close as it got.
I did have the poster. I didn't have it up for a long time, but I did have the poster because it's just such a cool
It's a very cool poster.
graphic
Yeah,
design in and
yeah,
of itself.
it is.
What would you wish you had had?
So I think now I would go with the poster or a
Okay.
miniature of the ship that lights up.
Yeah. So I have a flying UFO,
Of
duh,
course.
because anything that I can get that would be flying, I am partial to.
I mean, you could get some drones going with those things. So the way they fly, it'd be
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, I looked up on Amazon. There are some UFO looking drones, but they look kind of cheesy.
Mm,
So, yeah, yeah. Again, like these UFO designs were so brilliant,
yeah, they were.
so perfect for what they tried to do. Like to have something that looks corny, just not interested in.
Fair enough.
Okay.
You weren't a big fan of the Lost Saucer with Jim Nabors and Ruth Buzzy.
Oh my God. That is something I have not thought about for a very long time. No, I am not.
What a shame. It
What a
was.
shame. Well, there are only so many things I can give my attention to in the course of my life.
That's right.
Did he sing?
I don't believe he sang no.
Okay. All right. Because he did have a lovely singing voice.
He did.
Yeah.
If you like that sort of thing,
Okay.
it's a very specific baritone kind of thing.
I did like Ruth Buzzy, but I think I'll still take a pass on it reluctantly.
Yeah, the Lost Saucer, man. If you don't know what I'm talking about,
Okay.
Google it.
Look it up, people. All
Figure out
right.
why I'm warped. These are the things that I watched as a youth.
Yeah.
That and the wacky space nuts.
Well, this is all a confessional here in
Oh, totally.
in this podcast too. I mean, I was the confessional about being a kid interested in UFOs. So,
That's right.
uh,
That sounds cooler than having watched The Lost Saucer, though.
all right. Well, enough catharsis for one episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Adios.
Well, it's off to Devil's Tower in a station wagon for Steven and me. But before we go, we wanted to thank you once again for listening to Ancient Geeks. You can find us on the podcast app or platform of your choice, where we'd be grateful if you like and subscribe. And even better, leave us a review, because we definitely welcome the feedback. And if you want to give it to us directly, contact us at someancientgeeks@gmail.com. Or look for us on Substack at someancientgeek.substack.com, where we post regularly, and also on Reddit, Facebook, and Blue Sky. All content is copyright 2026, Tom Grant and Stephen Taylor. Music by Reversed Image, whom you can find on Pixabay. See you next time.
And we got up and, we got up in the ship and we saw the aliens. Glowing beings made of beautiful light, and they welcomed us back. It was amazing.
I see. And you, Miss Rafferty.
Yeah. Cookie crumbled a little different for me here. I